Emmanuel Ness, the chair of your political science department, said he supports, quote, resistance by any means necessary, which includes violence. How can you say those statements that you support your Jewish students? Shut up and get out of here.
Gentleman will suspend. Gentlemen will suspend.
Get out of here, you loser. Come on. By the way, to be clear, I hold you all responsible for this. It is the attitude that you have allowed on your college campuses that make people think that this is okay. That is why this happens, because you have someone like Emmanuel Ness that says resistance by any means necessary, and I assume this person still works at your school.
What happens when a lawmaker finally drops the gloves and says the quiet part out loud? Stuff everyone's too scared or too polite to touch. In this straight-up explosive showdown, Randy Fine went right at Ilhan Omar and flat-out refused to back down. No sidestepping, no mealy-mouthed excuses, just raw, in-your-face confrontation broadcast for the entire country to witness.
Microphone, please.
Any call for violence against Jewish members of our community is entirely unacceptable.
So why does this person still work there?
Any individual of our faculty that has a complaint of breaking our rules, we will investigate them and take the appropriate disciplinary action if warranted.
Corinna Mullen at John Jay College said after October 7th, the right of Palestinian armed resistance is just, and just last month was filmed chanting up, up, up with freedom, down, down, down with Zionist scum. This is a professor that teaches your Jewish students. How can you say you have an unwavering zero tolerance policy when this person teaches at your school?
And I believe that faculty member is no longer teaching with the university. Any call for violence, any call for supporting Hamas or terrorism is entirely unacceptable, and we made those statements several times.
It seems that the majority on this committee is eager to continue enabling this administration's repressive agenda. President Trump's attack on civil liberties and academic freedom are well documented. While Republicans continue their charade, new information about the Trump administration's policy of ideological deportations is coming to light. Last week, a senior ICE official testified in court that the agency is using the website Canary Mission to target students for deportation. Canary Mission is an anonymous site that blacklists and doxes individuals, charging them with anti-Semitism through little evidence or zero due process. It has long been criticized for its McCarthyism tactics that surveil students, repress speech, and instill a culture of fear across campuses. This is a site that reframes attending an anti-war protest as supporting pro-Hamas rally. It is not known who runs this site, but the agenda is clear. Pro-Palestinian advocacy cannot be tolerated. And now this ideological agenda has a direct line to state power. Let's recall the high-profile case of student Romeza Ozturk, who was illegally detained by ICE and held for 6 weeks after writing an op-ed in support of Palestine. Curiously, that op-ed was published entirely a year before ICE chose to target her. But right before her abduction, Canary Mission posted a profile of her on its website accusing her of anti-Israel activism for writing the article. The same profile that ICE has now admitted to using in their internal memo. In a matter of weeks, she was picked up and her student status was terminated. Canary Mission loudly claimed credit for her detention, and it seems that credit was earned. This shameless authoritarian display of weaponizing a blacklist to crack down on political speech and detain academics is a page directly out of the McCarthy playbook. President Cropes, Chancellor Rodriguez, and Chancellor Lyon, this question is for the three of you. In the light of these escalations, with students facing detention, deportation in retaliation for their clearly protected speech, how are your campuses protecting students who are exercising their First Amendment rights?
We have free speech policies that are crystal clear. And in fact, we've clarified them over time to permit speech. We don't permit any violence with regard to the promotion of any particular viewpoint. And we try to act on violations of those policies quickly and fairly.
Thank you, Chancellor Rodriguez.
We make sure that all students are informed about our policies. We want students and all the members of our community to exercise the right to free speech, but they have to do it abiding by our rules and regulations. We're also investing, as I indicated earlier, in this constructive dialogue initiative. We want individuals to have the tools to have difficult conversations, to be able to have them, but to do them in a way that is respectful and civilized. And the best way also to empower the students is to provide them with information.
Chancellor Lyons.
We are supporting with education and training over 30 anti-bias initiatives to make sure that students can see into these issues more deeply. New curriculum, like what I mentioned earlier, a course like openness to opposing views, sharpening where the no tolerance lines are, which was very, very helpful, I believe, for the students to feel like they could safely express their free speech rights. And
at what stage, to the three of you again, will you intervene when students are being doxxed? We've seen fans in front of your campuses with students being doxxed.
Well, at Berkeley, the question there is if a doxing or other discrimination or harassment event would be reported, and we would follow it up with an investigation and make a decision.
And we have a webpage that we indicate to members of the community as a resource for the different things that can be done if someone is the subject of doxing.
Reports of doxing.
Man, this was one of those congressional moments where the whole vibe in the room flipped. You could cut the tension with a knife. Nobody walked out pretending it didn't happen. The discomfort was real, thick, and impossible to ignore. Randy Fine didn't roll in to play nice or swap sanitized talking points. He showed up to plant his flag and draw a damn line. As the heat cranked up on campus, extremism, surging anti-Semitism, and the kind of inflammatory political talk that's getting a permanent hall pass under the activism label, Fine zeroed straight in on the pattern he sees: dangerous words being whitewashed and excused. He didn't waste time with fuzzy some folks say generalities. He called Ilhan Omar out, by name, directly, no filter. What made this clip go nuclear wasn't just shouting to hear himself yell. It was the brutal, crystal clear framing. Fine hammered the core truth. Words carry weight, heavy weight, especially from people in power. Elected officials, influencers, anyone with a megaphone. When big voices keep pushing or defending resistance by any means necessary, that isn't harmless hot air floating in a bubble. It normalizes poison. It drips down. It turns into real-world hate, hostility, and worse. You could literally watch the squirming. The standard dodge, but let's talk bigger picture, or you're just stifling free speech crashed and burned harder than usual. Fine kept dragging it back to raw accountability. No interest in ivory tower theory. Just one gut check question nobody wants to answer. When do we finally own up to the fact that this kind of fire-starting rhetoric is straight up fueling the divide? Omar tried the classic flip, pivoting to civil liberties, overreach, cracking down on political expression. Fair play. But the divide snapped into razor focus. One side: we're letting straight up extremism slide way too far. Other side: you're trying to muzzle legitimate dissent. Fine didn't swallow the bait. He sliced it clean. This ain't about gagging speech. It's about refusing to rubber stamp or legitimize rhetoric that winks at, or outright excuses, violence and hostility. That line in the sand made all the difference. He didn't broad brush attack identity, or whole ideologies. He drilled down on responsibility, plain and simple. And that's exactly why it hit so many people square in the chest. This wasn't cheap partisan fireworks for clicks. It was a head-on crash between two totally opposing views of what actual leadership demands when things get ugly. Love him or loathe him. Fine made it crystal. He wasn't dialing back 1 ounce for the sake of decorum or optics. Blunt as a sledgehammer. Direct. Confrontational. In the current Congress, that level of straight-in-the-face challenge is basically endangered. But the real knockout wasn't just the sparks flying. It was the ugly, lingering question left smoking in the air. How far does this political rhetoric get to stretch before it crosses into straight-up dangerous territory? And who the hell gets to decide where that red line actually sits? That's the deeper war behind the viral moment. And it's not fading anytime soon. If you're fed up with the spin, the deflections, and the tiptoeing around hard truths, and you want more raw breakdowns where people actually say what needs saying, smash subscribe. Because these no BS clashes are where the real fight, and the real conversation, finally breaks through.